like this girl. We'll call her Pam. Just to keep in line with the office theme. So we'll call her Pam. But yeah, I wanted to ask Pam out, and like the whole week I was psyching myself up. Right? I was gathering the courage to ask her out. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. It can't possibly go as bad as I'm imagining it to be, right? The worst thing that you can do is say no and break my heart, so it's okay. And so yeah, the day before that I was gonna ask her out, my friend, he comes up to me, he says, hey, I'm thinking about asking out, what do you think? And I was like, that's a terrible idea. Honestly, that's a terrible idea. But he went and did it anyways, and then they got together. And you know what, I was pretty devastated, I was pretty sad. But I realized that I was pretty upset at my friend too, but I realized that if anything, I should be upset at myself. Because what I should have done, instead of waiting around and being hesitant and being apprehensive, I should consider the opportunity and just go for it, right? And so in the short term, that situation made me feel pretty upset, it left me in a sour mood, right? But in the long term, I realized that the situation is really a benefit to it because it made me realize that whenever you see an opportunity, you should take it. You should capitalize on it as soon as possible. Because as your boy Wayne said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So then the third anecdote that I want to mention, this was a few years after, in senior year of high school. So in senior year of high school, I went to an IB school. And in this IB school, you have to take this course called Theory of Knowledge. And so basically, as you can tell, in this class you talk about knowledge. What is knowledge? How do we acquire knowledge? And throughout this course, our teacher, Martin Chambers, he taught us how to go about, he taught us how to view things differently, just by asking questions like, how do I know this? How can I be sure that this is the correct logical conclusion? Questions like, which biases are affecting my conclusion about this situation, right? And as a teacher, obviously, he knew that his words had power, they had weight, right? But I really don't think that I don't think he would expect that I would be standing up here influencing you guys with what I learned from him, right? So just to recap, 3 anecdotes. So the first one, I talked about how the words, the phrases that somebody uses, the things that they say about you can have a long-lasting behavioral impact on you. And in the second anecdote, I talked about how something that somebody says, something that a friend of you says or does, can have a deep emotional impact on you as well. And in the third example, I talked about how somebody in a position of power, an authority figure like a teacher, can influence how you think and how you think, right? So I think all these little vignettes in my life, I think they're very significant because, again, it goes back to the theme of how words have weight to them, how words transcend people, transcend time, transcend countries even. And I think it's important to keep that in mind because it encourages us to consider how our words affect the people close to us, how they affect our friends, how they affect our family, our coworkers, and even possibly our future children. Thank you.
All right, just like last time, guys, let's get the evaluations passed to the center. Remember, overall positive, it's constructive criticism. I also failed to mention earlier the theme of the day today is feel the fear, but do it anyway, which is what some of these speeches are themed for.
We all set on questions, so he should. 7 should be fine. Okay. So just let him talk.
Just let him talk. Don't even mention like 7
I don't think so. But also, don't forget to mention all the time.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna do it.
Okay. Good job.
I don't need it right now. Just ask me. Just I don't need it right now. Just ask me that.
I'm going next.
Sergeant Arms, do we have all the evaluations in? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Without further ado, let's get the third speaker.
Cheers. Jessica.
Speech is called The Champion Margaret Brown. You're probably wondering who that is and why I'm talking about it, and I'll explain all that later. So the story of how I met Margaret Brown, I was taking this leadership personality assessment thing, and it told me that I'm a champion. And I was so excited to see that. So things about people that are champions, we're talkative. Don't see that. We're advocates and we're concerned about people. So that's my personality. I'm like, oh my God, you guys know me so well. I also scrolled down the website and looked at the list of fellow champions, and I'm like, oh my gosh, me and MLK have the same personality type. And then I know everyone except for this lovely woman here, Margaret Brown. So I did lots of research, extensive research. I Googled her. And this is what came up. How many of you guys are familiar with Titanic? Yes. So unfortunately, when you type in Margaret Brown, it automatically takes you to the unsinkable Molly Brown, which is this woman on the boat that basically yelled at the guy that was in charge of the lifeboat because he wouldn't go back to pick up the thousands of people that were dying. That's Molly Brown. And I continued to look at her, and then it wasn't until I got to the end of the page that I actually found an actual picture of her. And this hurts me because I actually did research, reading books. I went to her home and I looked at these websites, and I found out that she is such an amazing woman. It really hurts me that Titanic is the only mentioning of her. So I am going to basically give you guys a bio of my soul sister, because me and her are just the same. And so that you guys can stop just thinking about Titanic when you see her. So to start off, she grew up poor in Missouri, and it wasn't until about 1890s or so that she moved to Denver, Colorado, and married the man of her dreams. When I say the man of her dreams, it's very important because back in the day, women had to marry these rich guys in order to survive. But she said, I'm going to marry this man because I love him, and I'm not gonna marry some rich dude that hits on me. And that was key. So her and this guy are dirt poor, and they're in Missouri. They're in Denver. A little bit later, her husband literally strikes gold. He's literally filthy rich. And now she's becoming important. She's becoming Mrs. Brown, or Mrs. Brown in the nice Victorian style home. and she's now becoming a political figure. She helped create the juvenile justice system. She ran for senator even back when women weren't even allowed to vote. So this is very interesting. Like, she's the type of person, she's outspoken. You're not gonna tell Molly Brown what she can and can't do. And something right here, workers' rights. Her husband is the manager of a gold mine. And she's like, well, hold up, you can't treat them that way. And he's like, but I'm the manager though. So they separated because of that tension. But fortunately, he was forced to give her money. And so she continued her work as a politician, as a world traveler. In fact, one day when she was in Egypt, just enjoying riding the camels, all of this, she gets a terrible Facebook message that her grandson is sick. So she rushes dramatically to France and boards the RMS Titanic. Yeah. And we all know the Titanic sank and a bunch of people died, but 68% of the people that boarded this ship died. 68%, 1,500 people died. And the boat was organized by the rich first class, the second class, and then the third class. And I bet you that most of the people that survived were first class. That's just how it was back in the day. Poor people, they're not important. So Molly Brown, being this loving person, caring, outspoken, like just being a boss. Eventually she gets on the lifeboat and they're saved by this lovely ship, the Carpathia, I can't pronounce it. And here she is on the Carpathia in the first class section. And her first class friends are in terrible agony because all of their valuables are on the ground and they'll never recover their famous jewelry. And she's here like, nah, bruh, I'm gonna go over here. So she steps literally over to the second class and third class where she knows 5 languages, where her travels have come into play, and she's speaking in Italian. Oh, you're crying because your daughter's underwater, and that's why you're sad. Let me tell that to the captain here so he can help you out. Not your priceless jewelry over here, and your tragedy, and your anxiety. Oh my gosh. This woman is so amazing that she takes her millions of dollars, and she waits in New York. Remember, her grandson is probably about to die because he's really, really sick. When the ship finally gets to New York, she stands there and she waits for over 705 people to make sure that everyone has found their loved ones and that make sure that everyone has a home to go to in New York. Because a lot of the people were poor. They lost their husbands because traditionally men weren't supposed to get on the lifeboats. So we have women and children that don't have any money. And because of her bravery, she was awarded this nice, lovely trophy for being a champion, for her courage. And in turn, she got this beautiful green jade thing from Egypt, and she gave that to the captain for, saving her life. So, as we can see, that Margaret Brown is more than just this Molly Brown picture that Titanic, the movie, makes her out to be. She is a true champion. Look at her. She just looks like a champion. So the next time that you watch Titanic and you see them making her out to be this woman in a boat, you stop and say, hold up, Jessica taught me better. That woman is a champion. She's not just the unsinkable Molly Brown. Thank you.
Just as the previous 2 times, would you please evaluate the speaker? At this time, I'm going to introduce the grammarian and all counter. These are 2 crucial parts to our system to make you a better speaker. Would the grammarian please stand up and explain his role?
Good evening. Oh, did you end up? Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. He was the original.
Okay.
Would you like to go ahead and? Yeah. Go ahead, stand up. Stand up.
I guess you came in a little bit late. Sorry. I guess you could also talk about what you noticed. So, for me, the icebreaker.
Oh, Oh,
Oh, what I'm
you're just
supposed to
yeah,
be
you're just
doing?
explaining the role this time.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and
So-
then later on we'll do that.
We'll do the actual. So the grammarian's role is to pay attention to any sort of use of words incorrectly or any novel use of words or flowery language, etc. So how does the grammar fit the topic? How does the grammar fit the audience? And is a word used correctly and within context?
And the other part of our system is the all counter. Would the all counter please stand up and explain your role?
So as the all counter, I'm counting the verbal fillers that each and every speaker uses, and that could be ums, likes, and we all have our different verbal fillers, and just keep us cognizant of that so we can become more efficient and create better speakers.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you. Now, can we please have the fourth? Oh, timer. I'm sorry. I missed one more crucial part of the system. Would you please explain what the timer does?
Yeah, so what the timer does is basically every speech has a certain allotted time for that speech. And so what I do is I make sure that people are actually staying in time, letting them know when it's they've met the required amount of time, when they should start to they're halfway through, and when it's time for them to start wrapping up.
All right, now would the fourth speaker please come to the stage?
Paper. So my name is George Dozal, and I'm going to be talking about when I was the happiest. Should we write my name and stuff? All right, I'll get going. So I was called upon by Alex Rosenberg 2 weeks ago to give a table of topics on when I was the happiest. And immediately I thought about, should I make it lighthearted or go deep? And what I should have said was, picture this. I've been walking around all day long